We are live. I've never done coke. Make sure you head over to gunchannels.com. We'll be talking about that SHOT Show bingo. Check out magstogo.com. Thanks for tuning in to Gun News Weekly. It's the first show of the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year, Casey. Good to see you. Happy 2017. I don't know if you can hear me. Ross, can you hear me?
I sure can. Yeah, Casey must be locked up.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, man. Show number 201, if I'm not mistaken.
You're not, and you got snow.
Oh man, we got something in the neighborhood of 10 inches of snow. It was a fun day. Got to drag the kids around in the sled on the back of the four-wheeler. Dude, it is so much fun. We dress them up full motorcycle gear. And
do you have like a monster?
My kids anyway, we let them have it, dude. I'm full on like 30, 35 mile an hour whipping my kids around in a sled behind the four-wheeler. That's old school fun for all you young millennials out there. That's what we used to do when we were growing up.
No broken bones, no issues.
Nothing but big ass smiles and maybe a few bruises here and there, but a ton of fun was had. And anybody who thinks that's child abuse can come see me anytime.
Casey's here. What's up, buddy? Can you hear me now?
What's up, guys? Internet's kind of
no worries.
Spotty right now. So
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy holidays. Good to see you.
For sure.
We're going to talk about your bathroom protocol tonight.
All right.
But we'll get there. We'll also talk about carrying in the church. We'll talk about the Roni, and we'll talk about SHOT Show, obviously, and a bunch of other stories. But as I was saying in the lead-up show, we start a little early over on Facebook. What's up to everybody watching on Facebook? If you want to watch the videos we're watching and or see these guys, head on over to gunchannels.com, gunnewsweekly.com, Kevin the Tack Daddy on YouTube, and you can watch what we're watching. But yeah, there's a bunch of like legal type stories tonight, and the first one's right here in Orlando out of Tallahassee. Spurred by the Pulse nightclub massacre, 2 Orlando Democrats are looking to ban the sale of assault weapons in Florida, period. They're going to unveil their news conference today, and they admit that the bill is a long shot, but they say that the gun lobby has control of the conversation on gun safety for the last several sessions, and it's part of what their obligation is to do as leaders. The big deal is it goes back to the large capacity magazines, and it goes back to the AK and the AR-15 and what they're now calling the Sig Sauer, the semi-automatic gun used by the dude who was inspired by ISIS and killed 49 people at the Pulse. And they're talking about any kind of ammunition feeding device with the capacity to accept more than 7 rounds would be banned. So they've gone to 7 here.
They're really pushing that it's that dying breath of the anti-gun regalia that we've been through for the last 8 years, Kevin. That's all it is, because they've got to do it now because it's not going to happen.
In Florida, there's a lot of pro-gun Republicans and, believe it or not, and a couple Democrats. And the anti to everything they're talking about is the notion that it was in a gun-free zone, and had anyone in there been allowed to be legally armed outside of the security guards, then this guy would have not had a chance, et cetera, et cetera. Orlando's claiming that there might be the perception is out there that they're changing from a tourist perspective because people are seeing the city that's plagued with gun violence due to the one big story from this year.
Well, the one big story this year would be that, and I don't know if we're going to cover this or not tonight because we really didn't get a chance to talk about it, but the 4,400 people that got shot in Chicago, and Chicago being the poster child for gun regulation. I mean, they are the toughest place in the country to get a gun, and yet they are leading the country in in gunshots and homicides.
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 stories that we're going to touch that are all kind of connected. And you're hitting it, Ross. We'll get there for sure.
If you ever want to have an interesting evening, download a Scanner app and just listen
to a scanner
to
in Chicago.
Oh my God, it is crazy.
Interesting. Well, in New York, according to Range365.com, New York lawmakers want to limit ammo purchases to what amounts to 20 rounds every 90 days.
Oh, my
Basically,
God.
They're already trying to make what they're calling the Draconian SAFE Act even more absurd. According to The Truth About Guns, lawmakers from Brooklyn announced 2 proposed amendments to the package of firearm laws that would limit how much ammunition New York residents could buy at a time. The law would allow gun owners to purchase twice a gun's capacity every 90 days. Since they're already down to 10 rounds as a limit, they're talking about 20 rounds of ammo every 3 months.
With a maximum limit, don't forget, of 500 rounds.
I didn't see that one. I didn't see that
there.
One. Right,
I did read about this earlier in the week, Kevin, and you know it's funny that they want to limit access to the one thing that equalizes the smallest of victims to the largest of attackers.
What's up, Dan? Dan's joining us. What's up, brother?
Oh.
Hey, it's not all. Check this out. The new legislation also ups the penalty to a violation of these laws to a Class E felony that carries a minimum of 1 year prison and up to 4 years in prison for having too many bullets or buying too many bullets. It's nuts.
It's crazy.
New York's
and we can look at Chicago as the poster child of what gun control does to a major metropolitan city. It's just insane that we allow this kind of stupidity just to keep going and going and going.
Hold off on Chicago.
It's a huge waste of money.
I'm almost positive it's like one of my good tabs in the end here. Back to Florida. This is an interesting one because I posted an unrelated gun story on the Gun News Weekly Facebook page. If you're not watching the Gun News Weekly Facebook page, make sure you go over there and like it or follow it or whatever the heck you do. It was about something where there was a liability issue where a kid got killed by something and they were going to sue the company that made the something. Busy week reading a lot. Sorry, I can't remember the details. But it relates to this one. Do you remember back when the gal who was doing a signing and a crazy guy came up and shot him and the brother saved the day, but shot and killed the girl? It was in June. We talked about this. It was Christina Grimmie. She was shot and killed by this guy. He was a 27-year-old. As she was signing autographs following her performance at the Plaza Live in Orlando. The dude was tackled by her brother, and the gunman broke free, backed against the wall, and shot himself. She was known for being in The Voice and for doing her covers of contemporary pop hits. This guy had 2 handguns, 2 extra mags, a hunting knife, etc. And he brought him to the venue, and police say he was more specific that he was there specifically to commit the crime, and that he had an infatuation with her. The lawsuit states that the owners of the facility, quote, the owners of the facility in which she performed and the outside security company hired to provide security for the concert failed to take adequate security measures to ensure the safety of the performers and the attendees at the concert venue. Security company is not named.
Kevin, wasn't that the day before the Pulse shooting?
It was right in that same time frame.
Yeah.
It's also alleged.
This is actually coming from the chat from our friend Brian. But you notice nobody paid any attention to that.
It was right at the same time. And again, this is where it gets a little odd to me because I don't know where they get this info. It is alleged that the killer knew that the no gun signage would keep law-abiding gun owners out. Nothing deterred him, and he was able to freely walk up to the singer and shoot her dead. The suit claims that the security provided, quote, superficial bag checks, no body pat-downs, et cetera, et cetera.
Wasn't that in Florida, too? You may have just said that, but where?
Yeah, it was right here. It was right here outside of the Orlando Live Center.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, the Plaza Live in Orlando. So there's another one. Now, Ross, This is kind of related, Ross. I knew there was something here that I'd thrown into the batch here. According to the Daily Mail, gun violence is contagious. Chicago study finds that shootings spread like flu in urban areas.
Okay, it's the guns that are causing it. It's
researchers from Researchers are from Harvard and Yarvard and Hale. Let's start over on that one. Researchers from Harvard and Yale University have found that gun violence spreads very much like infectious disease, such as the flu. They analyzed a network of 138,000 people in Chicago who were arrested between 2006 and 2014 and identified as part of a large social network based on people who were arrested together. They think that knowing how violence spreads could help healthcare and social workers develop strategies to prevent gun violence.
Yeah, this is the precursor to them telling you that they just know that if you have a gun, you're going to shoot somebody. Therefore, nobody should have any guns. It's just another loop around. You know what I mean?
Now let's again.
They're building a narrative here, Kevin. They're building the narrative. Do you see how they're lifting this up and they're saying, "Oh, well, we can figure it out," and then it'll be, "Oh, we just know because of our research and our studies," kind of like climate change, that if you have a gun, you're going to be violent, so we shouldn't give you the gun.
Well, Ross, I think this thing with Chicago, and I think it's starting to get talked about. There's a racial undertone that's coming to the surface. This is an issue about that goes back, I think, and I didn't even plan on talking about this, but you're talking about young men who are growing up without positive male role models, in my opinion. Listen to these stats. The individual of 138,000 people analyzed. Let's go back. This was from 2006. What did I say it was? From 2006 to 2014. So you're talking about a pretty big area to look at data. 138,000 people were analyzed. 9,000 people were involved in 11,000 fatal and non-fatal gun violence events. These individuals were averaged 27 years old, overwhelmingly male, 82%, 75% black, and often members of a gang, 26%. Now, let's not forget about gang affiliates and all that kind of stuff too, but these are the ones that they obviously proved were. Infectious disease models were able to predict future gunshot incidences better than models based on demographics such as age, sex, race, and income. The research even found that gun violence has an incubation period, the time it takes you to get sick after you've been exposed to an illness-causing bacteria. The average gap of 125 days between the time someone experiences gun violence and when the perpetrator experienced gun violence themselves. So they were talking about how it's all linked. Crazy, interesting to think about.
Well, that goes back to live by the sword, die by the sword, right? I mean, if you're packing a gun and you commit crime, you're probably in that world.
Ross, you talk about Chicago. These stats from Chicago are crazy.
Unbelievable.
3,550 shooting incidents in the calendar year of 2016, 760 confirmed murders.
Huh. I actually read an article that said 4,400 shootings last year in Chicago. And they're on track right now. There were 57 shootings in the first 4 days of the year. That puts them on track for 4,900 shootings this year. Well,
you're talking right fresh out the gate.
Yeah, they said 57 murders in the first 4 days.
That's crazy.
And it tracks with their uptick from last year to this year, or 2015 into 2016. If you track those numbers and you look at the increase, the increased percentage is the exact same increase next year over last year at the given rate, at the tracking given rate. It's crazy, man.
All right. Well, at the same time, we have two stories about gun checks that kind of wrap up. I do have a question about Chicago coming in from Paulo. What's up, buddy? If Chicago relaxed its gun laws, would you project a drop in crime?
Oh, that's a great question.
Chicago is such an interesting it's such an interesting test to look at because, well, it's reality of what's going on. I don't want to treat it for less than what it is. It's an interesting microcosm of what the worst is. They've had such lax gun laws, so all the people really can't defend themselves, which festers gang activity because they can take advantage of people. What is gang activity? Selling drugs, taking, robbing, stealing, pimping,
extortion, yada yada yada,
that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's not an area like it's a different culture. It's hard to answer that question, but the answer I would say
not that hard.
No, I don't.
It's not that hard if you look.
I would project if they relaxed the gun laws. You mean if they allowed more people to be able to protect themselves with legally owned handguns and arms, and allowed people to take classes? We've gone over this. There's 2 gun stores in Chicago and 1 place where you can take a class or some shit. In Chicago, one of the biggest cities in the whole country.
Jeez.
I honestly, I would prop up Detroit as the answer to that question, because the police gave the citizens more access to guns, or they were given more access to guns, and crime did decrease in Detroit.
Yeah, but the gang thing in Chicago, until they fix the answer to your question, Paulo, is until they fix the gang problem on top of allowing, because yes, I do think that that's going to stop some stuff because it's been proven day after day, time after time in America, when people have the right to even some of the stuff we've shown in the past where people are at a gas station and they lift up their shirt to show that they're carrying, and that diffuses a situation. And it goes unreported. So would yes and no is the answer to the question. It's both. Because there's a gang problem there that's really bad. It's really bad. 700 and some people.
And I think Detroit had that same problem, didn't it?
Oh, man.
Gangs were running Detroit. People's houses were getting looted. Blah, blah, blah. Crime was rampant. The sheriff, gosh, I want to say that was John Clarke, wasn't it?
David Clarke?
Yeah, David Clarke. That's correct. David Clarke. Very pro Second Amendment, said, guys, get out there and get yourselves trained and protect yourselves because we can't do it. And I believe the statistics say that crime dropped in Detroit, although I don't know, honestly, the factual numbers on it. But that's my
We'll have a Googler on it next week, maybe soon. We're going towards it. Again, Paulo, it's the collective perception from bad guys at how easy it is to prey on the herd. Agreed. I think crime will drop with more relaxed gun laws. Super simplified, but I hope it comes across. It could be that simple. It could be that simple. Allow all the people that are bad guys, make them think twice because they now know that everybody else is there and able to take care of themselves. We'll get back on that one. Here's the big federal numbers and a misnomer that's been debunked, I guess you could say, this week. The first story is about federal data released Wednesday that shows December had more background checks across all categories than any other month in 2016, which we suspected after November. There were 1.845 million adjusted background checks logged into the into the NICS system, an 11% increase over the month before. 1.8 million.
That was
crazy.
That was also down 17% from
what was that time
last year's December.
That's just December.
Just December.
Wow.
Yeah, total, you want to know total NICS checks for the year were 27.5 million NICS checks.
Yeah, 27.5 million. So you're looking at a real consistent 2 million plus a month.
Yeah.
I wonder, I'd like to know what percentage of those are turned down.
That's a good question. I don't know, man, but at 27 million in a year, if they took 20% of that, think of that. I mean, that's still, you're still talking 20 million. You know what I mean? That's insane.
Thanks for sharing, Paulo. What's up, Dan? What's up, Eric? Eric from the Gear Locker. Shout out to the Gear Locker. We'll see him. I don't know if he's going to Vegas or not. Maybe we'll see him in Vegas. We'll talk about that. So check this out. Remember the huge the number that so many politicians for so many years said that 40%, they said it over and over again, 40% of gun sales are conducted without a background check in America.
Yeah.
They said it over and over. Obama said it many times talking about guns.
Gun show loophole.
Well, it turns out on MSN.com, 1 in 5 Americans is all that buys a gun without a background check. So that's, again, 20%. There's your, again, weekend gun show, person to person, pass it down to somebody. There's your percentage. That makes a way more sense to me in the bigger picture.
Tie that into the last whole number. 20% back in, and we're still looking at 27,500 guns out there.
Well, check it out. That one number, 40%, that came from an extrapolation of a 1994 survey. And for years, people said it was inaccurate. And the new survey published in the Annals of Internal Medicine found that the current proportion of gun sales conducted without a background check is about half of that figure.
Well, in a survey, that would be, I mean, I'm assuming they did it in one location, like.
Well, this was nationwide, I believe.
Okay, all right.
It also found that gun owners in states that require background checks on all private gun sales were much more likely to report acquiring a gun without a background check than those in states with no universal background check law, a potential indication that efforts to boost screenings at the local level are succeeding even in the absence of federal legislation.
I'd like to see the statistics to say that all these background checks even help crime. They don't.
They want to have 100%. It's never going to happen. But now they're saying finally that 40% number was point blank a lie. Hey, resetting it just about 9:25 after the hour. We'll get to the rest of the stories, a couple videos, some fun stuff to talk about. Start the preview SHOT Show about a weekend in advance of what'll be a pretty big preview show next week. I guess we can get into that. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for sharing. If you're watching, please share and like it and tell your friends you're watching and all that fun stuff. All right, what's up next? Let's see. Gun groups hail new national reciprocity proposal. We knew this would happen.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to really seeing what happens past Inauguration Day.
The NRA and the National Shooting Sports and the NSSF both welcomed a proposal introduced by U.S. Rep. Richard Hudson from North Carolina and 68 bipartisan co-sponsors on this week on the first day of the session of the new Congress. And so that was on the 5th. So that's today. Quote, the current patchwork of state and local laws is confusing even for the most conscientious and well-informed concealed carry permit holders. This confusion often leads to law-abiding gun owners running afoul of the law, even when they exercise their right to self-protect while traveling or temporarily living away from home. So to be easier to travel, again, I don't think they're trying to say this is the way you get the permit. I think they're going to say that if you have a state permit, it's going to get honored in other states, much like a driver's license. We'll see.
I heard a good analogy. A DOT driver can truck 50 million gallons of hazardous material across state lines without having to get a permit from each and every state. Why in the hell couldn't a guy carry a gun through? That's way more dangerous. You know what I mean? Way more dangerous.
The hypocrisies have been adding up in this world, and we'll get to our girl over at Mom's Demand Action in a little bit, but
oh God, not her.
One of those things. She's Ross. I think she's going to be with us for a while, bro.
You got a man crush on her.
I got a man crush on wanting to do something. I want to meet her. I want to meet her and be friends.
All right.
I think I can change her mind. Real Housewives star pulls a gun on intruders.
Heard about that.
Oh my!
Never watched Real Housewives, but good for her.
Kenya Moore. I love it when their name is appropriate. There's Kenya Moore. She's in Atlanta. She said that 2 men and 1 woman climbed over the wall in order to circumvent her security gates. They began knocking on the front door. They immediately ran away when she drew her gun.
There you go.
She said, quote, you can see it right there. I have a right to feel safe in my home and protect myself, and asked her audience, what if your children or loved ones were threatened this way? Pretty basic stuff. Stuff we talk about on this show all the time. Well, there's your headline.
Yeah.
She's taking on Bass Pro. Shannon Watts has decided to take on Bass Pro. She basically, the article is an interesting one, but go to guns.com and read it. What's interesting was at the end of the article, the author says, quote, in all of this, I've been assuming that Watts is a true believer. I have my doubts, though. She's been a public relations gun for hire her whole career, working for Monsanto and various health insurance companies in the latter capacity, then working under the name Shannon Thoten. So she had a different name at another point.
I find this extremely interesting. I was actually going to point it out because I didn't think you'd get to it, but this is very telling that she's operating under pseudonyms and all that shit. You know what I mean?
Shannon Throat on
Rotten or whatever. Yeah.
Something.
Yep. And you didn't get into that, but she defended efforts by the insurance companies to cancel the policies of customers when a discrepancy was found in their records. So basically she's the one that's like, you know, a doctor put the wrong mark on something, and she's the one that declined your insurance because of it. I hate those people.
She might be full of shit kind of person.
I think she's a full of shit. I think she's going after the money is I think what they're getting after there.
There's a lot of money. Let's not forget there's a lot of money and they need spokespeople. It's that simple. They got to have somebody.
Yep. And yeah.
I mean, it's to me, it seems like a simple follow the money.
She had a Twitter spat with the NRA recently. We talked about that a couple weeks back, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, she's nuts. I hope to meet her. I don't think she'll.
Maybe we'll meet her at SHOT. You think she'll show up at SHOT with like a group of 5 protesters or some shit like that?
Nah, I don't.
We could be hopeful.
This is one of those stories that, you know, how do they find illegal guns in states that don't allow you to buy illegal guns? A Baltimore man arrested under suspicion of child abuse has been charged for illegally possessing unregistered firearms, possessing a silencer, and for making a firearm. Guy named Joseph Goldman's home was searched related to investigation into a child abuse issue, and during the search, they found a bunch of illegal guns and contacted the ATF. They found an AR-15 long gun with a silver 6.5-inch silencer attached to the short barrel and a short barrel shotgun. Under the NFA, these firearms as well as the silencer must be registered and were found not to be. They imply that the AR-15 was supposed to be registered too. Maybe in Florida they need to be. Is that correct?
I don't know. You'll have to get somebody on the chat to verify that.
That what needs to be registered?
An AR-15 in Maryland. Just it's the word in the article. I could be wrong.
Maryland has passed a bunch of new stuff in the last 2 years. There's all kinds of weird stuff.
So did California, and I looked at this article, and it just looked like there was a lot of confusion, and I didn't have enough time to research enough to get educated on it, so I didn't want to bring it up. But it looks like some of those big ones got banned, like the bullet button stuff and this and that. And, it looks like some of that got stopped at the door right before the new year.
Maryland is slowly turning into California of the East Coast.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I'm glad we were able to escape Maryland. Be honest with you.
I liked Maryland growing up. I didn't realize it was so silly because we had BB guns and we could run around and shoot each other in the neighborhood with BB guns and no one stopped us.
Nobody. We didn't even know it was illegal. Of course, it probably wasn't back then.
Wow, man.
I'm glad I didn't grow up in these days, man. My shit would be in jail like
you'd be a terrorist.
Age 7, dude.
No, you'd be at home eating marshmallows and playing video games with virtual reality goggles on your face.
That's true.
Every other kid is. Why would you go out and try to talk to a girl if you could sit at home and watch videos? All right, here we go. Ohio State campus carry activists shot to death. Remember, Ohio State is where they had the issue recently where they've been really fighting to get concealed carry because of the knife wielding van or auto attack that they had recently. Basically, this guy testified. His name is Underreiner, Tarek Andrew Underreiner. He was a student there and a civil rights activist. And he was the treasurer of Buckeyes for Concealed Carry. I think obviously a group we would support. He testified in favor of campus carry before the Ohio legislature last year, and he was killed Thursday morning in an off-campus shooting in Columbus. He testified before the Ohio legislature, as I mentioned, in favor of House Bill 48, which eased a few restrictions on the carriage of firearms on college campuses and other places. He said, quote, college campuses and areas surrounding them present environments rich with potential victims. He said they're willing to gamble if we're unarmed and it pays off. Talking about bad guys. He, according to the Lantern, which is the Ohio State student newspaper, Columbus police officers arrived at an off-campus residence early Thursday morning and found him unresponsive with several gunshot wounds. They pronounced him dead at 12:41. Quote, investigators do not believe this incident was random in nature, nor has any connection to the university, the report states, unquote. Otherwise, facts about the slaying remain sketchy. Well, our hearts go out to his family and to him that we don't support anyone getting shot and killed. So, man, a lot of details I think are missing on this one.
There are a lot of details missing, Kevin. But again, like I said earlier, I think there are a lot of responsibilities that you take on when you carry a gun. You know what I mean? Especially if you're going to do it for self-defense or in that situation.
But reading this story, wouldn't you think that this guy who supports campus carry is off campus? Wouldn't he be carrying?
Yeah, but think about this for a second. If you're in a situation where you make the decision to pull your gun on an attacker who's got a gun, you're more likely to get shot. I mean, you just are, than hands up, and you know what I mean? But that's your decision and that's your right. And by all means, it's your responsibility. But you can put yourself in much more dangerous situations by initiating the draw of that gun than you otherwise would. So again, you go back to, at some level, if you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword, or at least be more prone to it.
Are you telling me I'm going to get shot?
I'm going to say that if your skill isn't mixed with a little bit of luck in a really bad situation, yeah, I hate to say it, yeah, you could.
Shout out to Brian from Savvy Sniper. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Hope everything's well. Was thinking about you the other day. Read something about Brian recently. God, so much data comes in. It's almost impossible to keep up with it these days. But shout out to Brian. Hope everything's well. Hope we see you soon. So that happened in Ohio. Well, there you go. Brian's from Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. All right, now we got a video to watch.
Uh-oh.
The tactical slide. I don't know if you saw this one. Set it up. And looks familiar. Walmart entrance, right?
Oh, God.
Well, I'll show you the video, then I'll tell you the story. I see some gunshots coming through glass. I think I saw a mag change. Could be wrong. We'll watch it again. Whoa, whoa. Through the sign, down on the ground. Bad guy runs outside and falls. Looks for a little bit of cover because he sees the angle he's getting shot at. I don't know if he was killed or not, but let's go find out because there is an actual story. But the slide and having the gun and shooting at the same time.
So his partner died. His partner was ambushed.
Oh, hold on. You know more than I do.
So
it happened in April of 2016.
Oh.
And Chandler, Arizona, and they got a non-emergency trespass call from the Walmart. The video picks up as the shooting begins. The first indication is that the encounter is going south because when they both leap backwards, he pulls a gun and shoots both officers. One officer runs, the other falls backwards with his weapon drawn. He fires one shot between his legs as he hits the ground, regains control, and shoots at Oakley, the bad guy, as the man runs at him, attempting to escape. One of those hits him as he stumbles through the door. The bad guy was pronounced dead shortly after. And our officers are alive and that we are eternally grateful, said the police chief, Sean Dugan. So we got stories crossed there.
It's funny. I saw that same video talking about an ambush of an officer. It's a lot of times spitting image.
A lot of times some of these stories get recirculated, Ross. So there's been stories that we recovered, that we even recovered, like the drone story we covered last week. We had covered that earlier.
It's so hard to get.
Depends on how much time we have to prep.
Yeah.
Depends what our, but again, so that was an interesting video. And then here was the other interesting thing. Back to Chicago, kind of wrapping up that before we get to some other stories and some tech time stuff. According, this is on NRA's, what's it called? America's firstfreedom.org, and you spell first with the number 1 ST. America's firstfreedom.org. Who can and who can't solve Chicago's murder problem? And I just wanted to point out that even the NRA now, this guy Cam and Co. is having these conversations, and he mentioned that a lot of the anti-gun crowd, it's always the next gun control law that's going to make the difference. And then imagine if young men in Chicago who were interested in guns had something other than a gangbanger to mentor them. And he talks about it and he gets into it and he says, it won't be easy, but unlike yet another piece of legislation aimed at legal gun owners, it will actually make Chicago safer. And he has a bunch of suggestions on that. And that's the truth of the matter. There's a deeper issue than just regulate guns, and hopefully things will get better in Chicago.
Dude, they're doing.
And again, so maybe it's as easy as Paulo said earlier.
No silver bullet. Yep.
All right. All right. So I put up a video on Gun News Weekly and on Facebook. For anyone that didn't see it, it's very quick. We'll watch it and then talk about it. It's about hitting the can in public places. What's your protocol, so to speak?
Shoot first, ask questions later.
What's up, Aaron? Question's pretty simple. When you go out and go to some secluded place and there's a public restroom, do you case the joint? Do you walk around the outside of it? This is kind of a freestanding building. And what do you do when you go inside? And I got a bunch of answers on a couple different platforms. So anyone watching tonight for the first time, let us know what you think. But Ross, I didn't ask you.
Nope.
You didn't.
And actually, I've been holding my opinion on this.
I figured.
I like what 90% of your comments on this were. I try to stay vigilant and aware of my surroundings, not overly, but enough to know what's going on around me everywhere I'm at. And the bathroom is absolutely no place to let your guard down. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I know that plenty of people focus on what they're doing, and the fact is someone could walk behind you and take advantage of you. And a bathroom is a pretty secluded place to be in. You know what I mean? In some locations. So my opinion is just like everywhere else, and maybe even just slightly heightened because of the nature of being so concealed there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's important to be vigilant, and I try to stay vigilant.
Well, someone we know that usually has awesome questions of the week. I think he was a little jealous. This is such a good question. And so his response was actually pretty pretty impressive when you think about it. He said he just goes in the sink so he can see 360. And I thought about that for a second. I was like, well, yeah, then you're looking at the mirror. Huh. All right. Fair enough. Good answer.
I'm going to do that next time.
The truth of the matter is pretty much what you said, Ross. When you go in there, you should be paying attention. A bathroom like that, and usually ones in like places like airports, things like that. I always have like a flashback to like those movie scenes where the guy comes in and gets his head smashed into the urinal, and that starts the fight, and then it's like a big rumble in there.
It's funny. I think of the same thing. I'm like seeing my head planted in the tile in front of me.
And I'm always trying to look for reflections off of the chrome on the pipes to watch when people are walking. So I use like the little tricks that they showed me in those movies. No, you need to be prepared. You need to. The other thing that someone brought up was someone mentioned, and it's true. You know, they said I carry appendix. You know, a lot of times when you carry appendix, and then you're going to use a urinal. If you're out in a standalone urinal, you know, with in the middle of a bunch of other open ones, there's a chance someone could see that you're carrying and all that kind of stuff and have an issue and all that kind of shit.
Dude, someone would have to be like checking out your junk to be checking out for a gun. You're in no danger of that. I carry appendix all the time, really low appendix, but appendix all the time. I never had a problem with it.
Really low?
Really low.
Is it really low appendix?
But not too low.
Hang low, sweet chariot.
Hey, Casey.
Yeah.
Shot show. Add it to the list of to-dos. Every time we go to a holster booth, we ask them, do they have appendix? And then we ask them, do they have really low appendix?
How low?
How low is your appendix, Carrie? Do you have all the lumens? And do you have low appendix? Hashtag low appendix. All right, here we go. Isn't that what you're supposed to do when something's funny? Call out a hashtag?
Oh, yeah.
We can switch over to, okay, so the bathroom protocol. Casey, you got anything to add to that?
No, I always try to kind of go to the end, like urinal specifically, where you kind of get a view of as much as possible. Same at restaurants. I always sit where I can see try to sit where I can see the entrance.
Yep, yeah. Absolutely. Cool.
All those basics.
Yeah, definitely. The other story I wanted to bring up and mention, and then we can talk about a couple guns that we're going to be probably having to go check out at SHOT, because there is some new stuff on the marketplace and new stuff being announced and leaked, and that's usually how it runs for the next 2 weeks. We'll hear about all kinds of stuff, and then we'll go check it out. And we do have some announcements about some sponsors and some friends that we'll be hanging with and talking about and doing some things with out at SHOT Show this year. And then we'll tell you about all the coverage we got planned for you, because we do have quite a bit. So I was talking to my friend, and she is my friend from Brazil who called me one day out of the blue. She's anti-gun, very religious, very pro live your life by the Bible, and Jesus is there for you and all that kind of stuff, but outwardly. And she called me one day and said that she had a cousin, or I think it was a cousin or a nephew, that was coming to America, going to be here for a couple weeks, and he wanted to shoot guns. There's a video on the channel where I go and I show this guy, I take him up the ladder from 22 to 38 to, I think we got into revolvers at 9, and even he ended up shooting an AK. And so anyway, and she was there for the whole thing, and she shot some stuff too, and was very surprised by how little recoil there was. And so anyway, she called me today and was talking about some other stuff, and she said, Kev, I had to tell you, I'm doing some work at a church. And she mentioned this outreach church that's accredited. It's a Bible community college and this, that, and the other. And she said, and the guy that's in charge, of the main pastor and somebody else along the way, took her to the side and said, we want you to know that we support and advocate, that our family here knows and is aware that we conceal carry, and we encourage everybody to get the class and do what they do so they can as well. In fact, we have a high-ranking member at this church who's leading a monthly get together to talk to people about concealed carry everywhere.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Now, and this is what most would consider a left-leaning congregation. So I'll just throw that out there.
That is almost an. No, I'm not going to say it, but
Ross, I think there's more people on the other side that are getting involved with guns. There's a bunch of articles that I declined to talk about tonight, but there's a bunch of stuff out there that says that that's the trend. We've talked about it before.
I'll tell you right now, from the church perspective, the Christian church is under more persecution these days than just about any other religion.
Yeah.
For congregations, I know for a fact that the church I go to has what we call
I have
care
to
team.
mention something, because she's been trying to get me to follow Jesus more strictly in my life, and we just started talking about her. She jumped in on Facebook, so we're talking about you and our conversation today about churches. But yeah, it's interesting because not only did they get into it, they're letting people know. They're outright. They're saying, "Hey, this is something that we do. This is something that we are believing and instructing and hoping that people that are affiliated with us take seriously." So Ross, you're saying more along the lines that much of the targeting of the ISIS and the really bad guys that are out there that we've talked about many times is directly at that community, and that's a good reason.
No, I mean, I think what Ross probably stated, that's true, but the Christian church is the target of the liberal left. I mean, everybody.
Absolutely. That's when you say church and the left together. I gotta scratch a little bit, but that's the hardcore left. I'll give it that. I'm sure.
Don't forget Broward and Miami all voted Hillary, et cetera, as well.
Right.
What's up, JJ?
What's up, JJ?
What's going on?
JJ Johnson from Reality Survival checking in. Hope everything's good in your world, buddy.
Yeah, it is. It's good.
Cool. I like the live stuff you're doing.
Thanks.
Took the leap. Here he goes.
Yeah.
Right on.
If you haven't seen, check out JJ's channel. He's doing some live stuff on a basis. You joined us at a good time. We're kind of transitioning over to some of the new guns that hit the market, and some of the stuff we'll be talking about for SHOT Show.
Cool.
Literally getting there right now. All right. Colt debuts the new Delta Elite railgun and the Cobra wheel gun. Have you seen these? Let me show you. Now this Delta Elite, that looks a lot like some of the other high-end Delta whatever the hex that they've had in the past. That's it. That's what it is. It's a new update for the 10 millimeter line. There's more to read. There's the Cobra. That's pretty slick looking.
Oh yeah.
$699.
It's a 10 mil revolver.
And then there, no. This is the Delta railgun.
1911 is it?
There you go. $12.99 on that one. Soldiers. Hold on one second. There was a problem in the past, but now they're 10 millimeters, ready to rock and roll.
God, what do you get in that thing? 6 rounds at 10 millimeter? Or, I mean, you get a full 7. God, 7 rounds, man. In a gun that size. I mean,
10 millimeter,
obviously
bro.
Not
10. Well,
10?
I have a 9.
Oh, wow. That's actually pretty good.
Now, this is the one that I'm kind of questioning and having doubts. I have a Smith & Wesson 40 cal full size M&P. I know it's a very popular gun. A lot of people have the 9s. I've trained with the 9 before one time. But here's the new video, and this is kind of a big deal to Smith, apparently. At least they're talking about it quite a bit.
Introducing the M&P M2.0 by Smith & Wesson, enhanced for complete shootability. Featuring a new aggressive grip texture.
I apologize.
The famous M&P optimal grip angle. 4 interchangeable palm swell grips for nearly any hand size. A light, crisp trigger with a clear tactile reset. Everything you love about the M&P pistol made even better. The new M&P M2.0, advanced by design.
Okay.
So it looks the same.
Exactly the same.
Thank you. All right. So here's the thing. I question a lot of things. First of all, the old one I think came with 3.
It did.
I know it comes with multiple. I just don't know how many are in my drawer versus how many I lost. But I think the old one
small, medium, and large. That's what it comes with, or it came with.
What you have, Casey, it looks like there's some more cutout on the slide here.
Yeah, I was going to say that right there. It looks like
there's some more here. Apparently, they're saying the trigger is better.
Well, that wouldn't take much.
I can believe that.
The grip angle is the same. The trigger is crisp. I mean, they don't really – I don't know. I'll be very interested to see what the major feel is and what the major
Smith
difference
triggers have always felt clunky to me. It looks like they've just chunked out. They've slimmed down the slide. That's really
They
about
did
it.
what everyone's doing these days. This is the year and next year and probably another year of modernizing your pistol as best you can, whether it's a agency arms upgrade to a Glock or this, that, and the other. So now the companies are jumping in and saying, you know what, we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's the end.
Why?
What do they do? They go in, they make 2 or 3 little design changes, and now they've got a whole new gun to sell.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yes.
Don't
Yeah.
agree. I think to call this an
It's marketing. I mean, that's all it is.
to call it an improvement
Could be.
is to call design. I don't know.
I mean, hell, if they put a better trigger in it, it's an improvement. I mean, that
I
trigger
agree with
is
that.
horrible.
I do agree with that.
I don't have an MSRP. I'm sure they've announced it, but I don't have one.
It's going to be like all the others, $500.
$599, I think. Yeah, $500, $599 with the 2 mags or 3 mags.
And then the other thing I needed to point out, because we've tracked this with this story, and it's finally rearing its head. And I don't think it's ugly. I think it's its truthful head. There's another thing from the firearm blog about the oath ammo just sucking. So
I watched that. It's really cool because you get a real good idea what a squib sounds like when it gets shot out of a 12 gauge.
Well, that's incredibly unsafe, and we don't recommend those rounds. And we've been talking about how they screwed over some of our friends and have screwed over vets. And it's we don't bash companies a lot, but that one is one that when there's more evidence and there's more things that involve people's safety, we'd be crazy not to share the info. So
the initial workup on the company looked cool. Like, it looked promising until...
Oh, dude, the rounds expanded. Yeah. Like, I held that flowered round in my hand one time. I was like, oh, my God, look at that. You know, like, oh, it's impressive until you start hearing about the stories about people actually shooting it.
Right.
Dude, and they did a great video on that, too.
All right. Let's talk about our quick preview of SHOT. So, JJ, you are not attending this year, but you have been in the past, correct?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to this year.
Right on.
Mostly just scheduling conflicts and just started a new job up here in Cheyenne and all that. So that doesn't really make sense.
So JJ, you're up in Cheyenne, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm down in Fort Collins, man.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Right on.
Once you get your range up in Rock and Ross, we'll get some Grizzly steel out to Ross's range, and you guys will be able to bring some steel from wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. That'd be great.
I'd love to know what everyone that's watching the show is interested in us covering, but in the past, we've done everything from live floor coverage to nightlife coverage to all the wrap-up coverage that you would want to see. I can tell you we'll be kicking it off with some cool stuff at Range Day, and then the first day, literally that first morning when they open up the doors to the thing, we're going to be talking to a new friend that's he's involved in the Hollywood aspect of guns, and he's going to have some interesting stuff that you may or may not have seen in movies and that kind of stuff for us to take a look at right as we kick off the floor portion of SHOT Show, I guess you could call it. So it's going to be a good time as always, but we've got some great friends on board with us. Proud to announce today that Tactical RX is with us. Not only will we be talking about their product, we'll be talking about some very exciting stuff from them in the future. Make sure you check out tacticalrx.com. Lanzang Tactical is in the house with us on Range Day, all day, and then beyond. Kenai Pro Gear will be providing some of the gear for the guys. Casey Ross and I will be running around doing all the filming and coverage. And also proud to announce that Team Tough's on board. Tough Products will be doing some things with them along the way. And I believe Thursday during the day, we'll be doing some stuff from their booth, et cetera, et cetera. Very cool. Looking forward to it. The other thing that I wanted to say that I didn't mention to you guys is I've started to like to go with a couple goals for SHOT. And one of the things I want to get my hands wrapped around this year is muzzle brakes and flash hiders. So I'll do a quick shout out to Apex Predator Arms with their quick change muzzle adapter, which we just haven't had time to test yet, but it's a system that you can put on this little. Again, see, you guys know I shoot guns a lot. I like guns. I like ARs, but I'm not a builder, so to speak, as much as like Schwell is and some of the other people. So there's some sort of quick disconnect. So you can literally be shooting this during the day, and then it goes to dusk, and you want to settle down your muzzle blast, and you switch over. I know that we'll be hanging out and talking to the guys from Facts and Firearms, and probably doing something from one of their events, Ross.
Mm-hmm.
They have a new muzzle brake and flash hider system. This is something that I just want to keep an eye on, and as we go through the show, see what the differences are between them all, and then kind of put them all to the test as we get through the year. Because I think we can probably get a few of them. It's not a super high priced item, and I think there's probably some that are better than others. The other one that I know I want to check out is was it UM, right? UM Tactical. They've got the muzzle brake with the different holes in it and the different washers you can spin on and off. Armalite, we'll talk to them. I'm sure we can get one of theirs and go down that road. So anyway, something to talk about. Shout out to Apex Predator Arms, because they were the ones that kind of got the whole ball rolling, and we'll kind of start with theirs and go from there. SHOT Show bingo. Now, JJ, you've been there. This would be so simple. Get or trade a patch, visit a manufacturer, selfie, buy a meal for a veteran or active duty service member. That's not hard to do there.
Nope.
Ask a firearms instructor a question. These are easy. Thank a cop or a service member. Meet a YouTuber.
That won't be hard.
Meet a YouTuber. You couldn't sneeze without hitting one, could you?
Yeah, that was another aspect on why I didn't go this year. Is I went last year, and I ended up having to leave early because of weather, but got like 15 or 16 different videos, but I didn't really see the traffic on them that I used to. And I think it just has to do with the increased number of people that are there. I mean, there's just so many folks there with different channels and stuff. So
I think I heard that like media day itself has been limited a little bit, but they say that every year.
Yeah.
I know that you have to have proof that you actually do something. You can't
I
think
from the last time I went, they've changed the registration process and stuff too, somewhat, but I don't know.
So we'll get geared up. Yeah, it's a good time. We'll get a lot of stuff done. I'm sure we'll meet a lot of new people. We'll see a lot of old friends, and we were talking earlier, a lot of vitamin C. Barbie says that she hates the rolling crates. Yes, they are the worst. Ross and I, you don't want to be rude, but you can accidentally kick one. I did accidentally kick one year.
Rolling crate.
There's dudes that go to the trade show simply to, you have to remember who's there. There's military, LEO, there's buyers, there's people that own stores, there's people that own whatever, and a lot of them are there just to pick up catalogs and swag. And
they run around with these. It's almost like a carry-on luggage, but it's basically a basket, though. You know what I mean? Like behind them,
plastic crate.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass because they're hard to walk around. They end up jamming up the aisles and stuff. And
gotcha. They leave them everywhere.
We'll also be doing some stuff for Inspire, including scheduling some people for the year. But we also will be doing filming of a couple episodes of Inspire and some shorts. That being said, if you haven't seen the show called The Selection on History Channel, go check it out. JJ, I think you could be on The Selection.
Are you joking right now?
You don't want to get sprayed by cold water in the middle of the night while you're doing push-ups?
No, man, I did that shit 20 years ago. I have no desire.
I feel the same way. My daughter's funny. She looks at me as soon as we started watching one day. She's like, "No, Dad," and I was like, "Yeah, I know."
But I'm way too old, way too fat, way too unmotivated.
Right on. Well, make sure you watch it. There may or may not be a former Navy SEAL that's on that show that we may or may not be fortunate enough to get teamed up and talk to while we're at SHOT, both live and on camera later. So check that show out. It's a fun show too. I think it's fun. I think there's an episode on tonight. So usually on Fridays I check that out.
Is that the History Channel? Is it after Alone?
Yeah, I believe it is. Speaking of Alone, speaking of the Mammoth Challenge, shout out to the guys from Lansang. There are a lot of Lansang rifles at the Mammoth Sniper Challenge right now, including our buddy Ryan from Lansang's teamed up with a guy from Alone. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but I had it texted to me today. So we'll get some intel on that and get some updates. But a lot more of those rifles at that high-end super sniper challenge, and that is one of the granddaddies of their industry. I mean, they're huffing and puffing and hiking and all kinds of different things. It's not just sitting prone or laying prone and shooting targets at 2,000 yards. It's a big deal. It's a couple of days, I believe, they camp out. Anyway, pretty cool stuff. That Lanzang's kind of making their mark, and as Schwell said, this will be the year you'll hear more and more about them. All right, resolutions. Casey fell off. Ross, you got any for 2017 here for the show, for SHOT, for anything like that?
I resolved to be at my best as much as I possibly can. I'm not big on resolutions, Kevin. I think if you got shit you need to get done, get it done. It shouldn't take the first of the year to spur your ass on. Quit being a lazy bastard. Get off your ass and get her done.
Dang. Go ahead.
Sorry.
JJ, you got any resolutions as we wrap up?
I'm not going to climb Mount Everest this year, and I am certainly not going to write a novel either.
Right on. No writing and no hiking excessive heights.
I'm with JJ.
I don't do resolutions. I
don't do resolutions, but I'll give you an update. How about that one? I'm still going to continue to try to stay in shape and increase my healthy lifestyle. But I'm going to try to continue the nice, easy, gradual growth that we've had with this show, with the other stuff, with the video production we're doing, with all the stuff we're doing with Tech Daddy, and more importantly with Gun News Weekly and the coverage we'll be doing from SHOT and all that fun stuff that's coming. I'll continue to be committed to making that as best as we can as we continue to grow it. That being said, check out JJ and Reality Survival on all the Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff, YouTube. Ross, we'll see you next week, and then we'll be off to Vegas.
Absolutely. One more show, and then the next show will be in Vegas. Really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to making Gun News Weekly viral, right?
Viral.
We're gonna light this shit up this year, Kevin.
Right
I really
on.
look forward to
Right
it.
on.
Man.
And JJ, man, you got easy access. You need it. You anything pings your brain that you want to see while we're out there. Let me know, and we'll make sure that we go by and get full color photos and maybe some live coverage and answer questions and all that kind of fun stuff.
Sounds good.
Might be cool to talk to you about some new knives that are coming out that I'm aware of as well.
Sure.
Right on, man. All right, cool. Thanks, everybody, for watching tonight. Make sure you check out TechDaddy.com. It is very cool when you go there and support that website. You do support everything we're doing here on Gun News Weekly. Make sure you check out Everyday Carry Life as well. Thanks to Frank and everybody that supported us along the way. I didn't get to talk about Microroni.
Love it.
We'll talk about this next time, but there it is, the Microroni with the 30 round. This is the stabilizer version, but it's just a Glock 19 from head down in there.
What's the price on that thing?
We'll be shooting $394.99 for without the optic and without the sights and without the gun, obviously.
Cool.
No need for NFA, and while you're not supposed to shoulder it or anything like that, I can tell you that it's very cool to pretend like you might be shooting it.
You may have shouldered it without the gun in it.
I may have pretended at some point that it is a super small, awesome, compact weapon that fits perfectly. My daughter really likes it. She's like, "Wow, Dad, this is my size." I was like, "Yeah, it is." So there you go. Shout out to CAA. You can get those at CAA Gear Up. And here's a little new item. You can go to TechDaddy.com and go to that homepage. Scroll down, and you'll see we have them for sale there as well. Appreciate everybody tuning in. And we'll say out to Facebook tonight first. Later, Facebook. We'll talk to you next week.
Real quick, thanks to everybody in the chat. Great show tonight. Great chat tonight. Thanks to everybody that supports us.
Appreciate it. We'll talk to y'all next week, and we'll see you soon. Have a great night. Peace.